I think the single largest headwind, but I'm going to probably reframe it as a little bit of just an unknown, is the activity with tariffs and how that may or may not impact the supply chain and for what period of time, and just the overall unknown of how that process is going to play out.
Hey everybody, it's Bob Crossan. I'm the editorial director of the Endeavor Business Media Water Group and the editor-in-chief of Wastewater Digest. I'm joined today by David Burkhart. He is a CEO of Garney Companies. David, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me today about your business and what your expectations are for 2025.
Absolutely. Happy to be here.
Yeah. So, why don't we just start kind of more broad scope and grander kind of like view and whatnot as you look at your business in 2025. What are some of the trends that you're kind of seeing that are driving the water and wastewater construction market?
I think the trends that we're currently seeing in water wastewater began, I'm going to say, a year and a half to 2 years ago, really, and some of it is a reaction post-pandemic type activity that we began to see across the U.S., particularly with the reshoring or onshoring of manufacturing. A lot of the heavy industrial users require water in order to facilitate their manufacturing process, and then in many parts of the U.S., particularly in the Southwest, there's a big focus on consuming as little of that water as possible, and so a lot of effort on the wastewater treatment side in an effort to recycle that water back to the head of the plant. So the reshoring of manufacturing, certainly we've seen that trend for the last several years, and that continues. The push into semiconductors, I suppose, could fall under that category of reshoring manufacturing, but everything in the tech space, semiconductors, AI, data centers, just more heavy industrial users, consumers, and the need for water just continues to grow. The other trends that we see, migration of people throughout the U.S., whether it's from areas of the West Coast to the Southwest or the Northeast to the Southeast. You could look at a number of different pockets in where the population trends are happening and people are moving. And when that happens, and particularly when large groups of people move to areas that don't have readily available water supply, certainly that generates a need to build more projects, design and build more projects. Arizona is a great example of that. Texas is a great example of that, where just the influx of people, new houses, and growth in the cities is requiring new water supplies. So that trend continues, and I believe that it will for the next several years. So those are, I would say, positive trends from a construction opportunity standpoint and what's going on there. Some other trends that we're seeing are just overall changes in regulation and water quality requirements. I think this is going to tie into some other conversation we'll probably have along the way here with rehabilitating versus retrofitting versus constructing new and those types of things. But the ever-changing water quality requirements, not only what the EPA and others are requiring, but also what we're learning about our water sources and water supply and those things, that continues to change. So not entirely sure what direction all of that is headed at this point, but certainly something we're keeping an eye on.
Yeah. There seems to be still a good deal of uncertainty with some things in the market, and I think that kind of leads into my next question, which is kind of like the headwinds that you're kind of foreseeing for 2025. What are some of the headwinds that you're recognizing currently, and how are you trying to position the business to kind of offset those headwinds or tackle them head on, or however you're looking to strategize around them?
Yeah, as we sit here today, I think the single largest headwind, but I'm going to probably reframe it as a little bit of just an unknown, is the activity with tariffs and how that may or may not impact the supply chain and for what period of time, and just the overall unknown of how that process is going to play out. And as we look ahead and say, okay, how do we protect ourselves and deliver cost certainty for our clients during these times? That's what we're grappling with a little bit, because will some of this blow over in a week or two? Will some of it play out for several months where there'll be impact for a few years? Difficult to say right now. So I think looking for opportunities to think about how we deliver our work, deliver our product, provide that service to the client. Not that dissimilar to some of the disruptions that we were seeing early on in the pandemic, is what are the steps that we can take to provide that cost and schedule certainty, not only for ourselves, but our clients. And what does that mean? Does that mean taking certain materials into inventory? Does it mean warehousing? Does it mean forming new relationships with vendors, suppliers, new vendors that maybe we haven't worked with historically, but now can provide that cost or schedule certainty? So a little bit in the midst of sorting through all of that, and it changes by the day right now. So it's been an interesting one to watch.
Yeah, it's been kind of going up and down, and so it's been hard to really plan around things, but hopefully that'll stabilize here in the future, not too distant future, and everything. Well, conversely, when I mean, I asked about headwinds. What about tailwinds? Like, what are some of the things that you're seeing? You're like, oh, well, we can totally catch the wind in the sail of that. Like, where are you looking at when it comes to that type of thing, and how are you trying to like capitalize on some tailwinds that you're recognizing for your business?
Yeah, from the construction side, I would say that the tailwinds are numerous. A couple of them I touched on already, but the trends that we're seeing with the reshoring, onshoring of manufacturing, certainly creating a lot of new opportunities. Another tailwind for the construction industry, and I should preface by that, because this may not be viewed as a tailwind all the way around, but the aging infrastructure in the U.S. We see that as an issue. We know that it's a challenge. There are some studies that various groups do every year, and here very recently, the ASCE conducted their annual survey of the state of our water wastewater infrastructure in the U.S., and we actually saw that be downgraded from 2023 to 2024. So we're continuing to see that emphasis on not only needing to repair and rehabilitate our existing infrastructure, but you layer that in with the growth that is necessary or required to get out to some of these new water supplies for those areas like Texas and Arizona that are growing. Those two combined, from a construction standpoint and an opportunity to build project standpoint, I would consider those a tailwind. Another thing that we're seeing, and I'm going to point to Texas again, is we're beginning to see more of an effort to approach some of these water challenges at a regional level, at a state level. There's a lot of activity right now in the Texas legislature with how they're hoping to get in front of what they see as long-term water shortage challenges, and really try to come together with a reasonable regional solution that makes sense. So how that translates over to a tailwind is, as those regional partners work together to look for those larger scale solutions at a certain level, it's likely to generate more larger projects in more of a consolidated format to solve these regional challenges. So again, purely from a construction standpoint, I would consider that a tailwind. And the third that I might point to is the opportunities that exist for private capital to get into and invest in the water space. With the amount of building that needs to happen, both in the new infrastructure side as well as the rehabilitation side. And so many of our municipalities only have so many resources, whether it's funding or people, to be able to maintain their existing systems, expand for what they need today, and build for the future. There's some constraints there. There is a tremendous amount of work that needs to be done, needs to be financed, designed and built in a fairly short period of time. And with those constraints on the municipal side, there is an opportunity, in my view, for a little more activity and participation on the private side.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, you mentioned the rehab versus new. That was something I was really interested in hearing from you, and kind of like the landscape of upgrades versus new construction. We do a survey annually, and it's pretty common that we see that the upgrades are generally more favorable than the new construction, which makes sense. You've spent so much to build a plant in the first place. You want to use as much of what you have to reduce your costs if you can. How have you seen that landscape change, if it has at all? What are some of the ways that you've noticed trend wise is happening for your business there? Are you seeing more new versus upgrades? Is it still skewing toward the upgrade side? Like what does that look like from your vantage point?
I think I would break it into two different categories, and whether I'm looking at transmission and collection, so the pipeline
Okay.
side of things, or the water and wastewater treatment plants. On the transmission and collection side, I think we continue to see more new construction,
Mm,
because the volumes of water needing to be moved is larger volumes, longer distances. The older infrastructure that was in place with the pipeline, you have flow capacity challenges, right? There's a certain diameter of pipeline that was put in 50 years ago. Even if that pipeline is in good condition, there's only so much more flow or volume that you can get through that pipeline. So
mhm,
as the need for new water supplies, higher volumes, we're certainly seeing an upward trend there in new construction. Now, on the treatment side, uh, we're seeing a blend of both. And a lot of it, I would say the driver is what part of the country we're in
mm,
and what is the age of the infrastructure. So there's a lot of new technology that's come along, and new and evolving water quality requirements. Combine those two, and there is a need to upgrade or improve the water treatment process. The challenge becomes, when was the original infrastructure built, and is it easily capable of accepting a retrofit? So a plant that was
mm,
built in the 50s or 60s um, is very difficult to retrofit with the new technologies, processes, power demands, data, the rest of it. And so in that scenario, you're more likely to see um, new construction, or
mhm,
demo and transition over, or new construction and a certain amount of retrofit to the existing plant, but use it as a backup to the new plant that's built. But those areas of the country where the infrastructure is newer, say it was built in the 90s, early 2000s, it's more ready to accept the new technology, new systems, new
mhm,
processes, and or those facilities that were built in the late 90s, early 2000s were probably designed and planned out with a concept in mind that, hey, some new technology is going to come along, or some new process is going to come along. And so we're going to build a larger campus with more space between our tanks, our clarifiers, our processes, so that we have room to bring these retrofits in. So I would say it depends a little bit, or a lot actually, based on region and the age of the infrastructure itself.
mhm. Yeah. Has there been a change that you've noticed since the infrastructure bill, or has this just been like kind of irrespective of the funding mechanisms that have been in play?
Um, I I would say that it's been there irrespective of the funding
Mhm,
mechanisms that have been in play. Most of the infrastructure that we've seen built new or rehabbed is due to growth or water quality standards.
Okay.
When we think about the infrastructure bill, it is more purely a funding mechanism. The way that I see it impacting our industry. The majority of these projects were going to be built one way or the other. It was just a matter of what was the funding mechanism that the municipality owner client sought to access.
Yeah, yeah. I've heard that not just from you. I've heard that from some other folks as well, where utilities saw it as an opportunity to like do more with the same project as opposed to like another project on top of what they were already doing. It jives with what I've heard, it seems like.
Yeah, I would say that's a pretty fair assessment.
Yeah. Well, last question here is just, looking at maybe longer term than just 2025, like what excites you the most about the water wastewater market when it comes to construction? What has you really I guess excited is the best word for it. What's got you excited?
Well, what excites me most about water wastewater is it's the same thing that's excited me for 20 years, frankly. Uh, this industry is very stable. It is resilient to many things that happen in the economy and the stock market. There's a certain amount of resiliency even to what goes on with housing and new housing starts. It's consistent. It's stable. It's planned many years in advance, so there's some certainty out there. That's exciting. It's exciting to be in that space and have an opportunity to have that certainty, that security, where as you invest in your company, as you invest in the growth of operations, as you invest in the growth of your people, that there is going to be work out there in the future. And so, really, it's an exciting industry to be in for that reason, that you can really plan long term.
Hmm.
And so that's fantastic. And more recently, I suppose what is getting me more and more excited, and I touched on it earlier, but the opportunity for private capital to come into to play. So, I think there's a lot of opportunities out there, as I touched on earlier, that the municipalities and water districts and otherwise are doing the very best they can to advance their projects and stay in front of their cities and their long-term water planning. But there are some limitations there, and for that, I think there's opportunities to come in partnership, whether it's through infrastructure funds or P3s or other opportunities to really put some private capital to work in partnership with these utilities and drive that infrastructure forward.
Yeah, it is a really exciting market. Even when you think about the work that is completed, it directly impacts the people within a community. So like, you're like, I'm building generational infrastructure is kind of a cool thing to be able to tell people.
Yeah, and something you can see and touch and feel and know it's there. They're just on the infrastructure, on the investment side, there are so many things that people can invest in today, and technology being a huge place for most people. But technology, it's something that exists. It's there. We need it. There's opportunity. It's exciting.
Mhm.
But there's also something unique about infrastructure in the fact that it's real, it's material, it exists. You can see it, feel it, touch it, and that I think that aspect is probably what drew a lot of us into this industry in the first place. Whether it's civil engineering, construction, earth moving, utility construction, infrastructure, that the fact that we're creating and building something real that does have an impact, a positive impact for the community in so many of these different industries, I think is a driver for most of us that are truly passionate about it and spend our lives here.
Yeah. Well, it's hard not to be passionate about it once it gets its hooks into you. So, well, thank you so much, David. I appreciate you taking the time to chat with me today and talk about your business and everything. For everyone who's watching, check out our video description below. We'll have some links to some other Garney Construction information if you wanted to learn more about their business. And once more to you, David, thanks so much for being here. We appreciate you taking the time.
I absolutely appreciate it.